My name is Maria, and this is the most painful memory of my life. It was a rainy evening. I was lying in the hospital bed, holding my newborn baby girl in my arms. Her little eyes were closed, her tiny hands wrapped around my finger. I was crying, but not from pain. I was crying from joy. I looked at her and whispered, "Welcome to the world, my princess. I will love you forever." But just when I thought life was perfect, it broke. My husband entered the room. Slowly. He did not smile. He did not look at the baby. He stood still, cold, silent. "Why are you not holding her?" I asked softly. He took a deep breath, then looked at me with empty eyes and said, "Maria, I do not want this. I am leaving." I could not believe what I heard. What do you mean?" I said, my voice shaking. "I cannot do this. I do not want to be a father. I need my freedom," he said. Then he turned and walked away. No kiss, no hug, no goodbye, just silence, and the sound of the door closing behind him. My heart broke into pieces. I held my baby tighter and started crying louder than I ever had before. Why? Why now? Why would you leave us like this? I cried into the air. My daughter began to cry too, as if she felt the pain I was carrying inside. I rocked her gently, trying to stay strong. But inside, I was falling apart. I had no job, no money, no one to call, and now no husband. I was alone. That night, I stayed awake, sitting on the hospital bed, staring at my baby girl. Her name was Hope, and she was all I had. "I promise you," I whispered, tears rolling down my cheeks, "I will never leave you. Never." I left the hospital with a small bag, a broken heart, and a child in my arms. I walked in the cold wind, scared, tired, and lost. But in the middle of that pain, I felt something growing inside me. Not anger, not hate, but strength. A quiet voice inside me said, "You are a mother now, and mothers do not give up." The next morning, I stood outside the hospital doors. It was cold. My baby girl, Hope, was wrapped in a thin pink blanket. She slept quietly in my arms, but my heart was screaming. I looked around. Cars passed by. People walked fast. No one knew that I had just lost everything. I had no house to return to, no money for a cab, no family who would help me. I sat down on a bench, trying to breathe. "I have to think, Maria," I told myself, "you are not alone anymore. You have her." Hope moved a little in my arms. I looked at her tiny face, so calm, so innocent. My tears began to fall again. I took out my phone. The battery was almost dead. I tried calling my mother, but she did not answer. The truth is, my parents had warned me not to marry him. When I chose love over their advice, they turned away from me. I tried calling an old friend. "Hello," she answered. My voice broke as I said, "It's me, Maria. I need help." But after a short silence, she replied, "I'm sorry, Maria. I can't. My husband won't allow it." Click. She hung up. I felt the world closing in around me. I started walking. No idea where I was going. Just walking. One step, then another. People passed by. Some looked. No one stopped. My feet hurt. My arms ached. But I kept walking because stopping meant giving up. And I could not give up. Not now. After hours, I reached an old church. The doors were open. I stepped inside. It was warm, quiet, safe. I sat in the last row, held Hope close, and cried. An old lady walked toward me. She had kind eyes. She sat beside me and said softly, "Are you all right, dear?" I could not speak. I just shook my head. She placed her hand on my shoulder and whispered, "Come, you and your baby can stay with me tonight." That moment, I felt a tiny light in the darkness. A stranger, a warm room, a little kindness. And that saved me. That night, I laid Hope down in a small crib beside the old lady's couch. She smiled at me and said, "You are stronger than you think." I looked at my daughter sleeping and whispered, "We are going to make it. I do not know how yet, but we will." And for the first time since he left, I believed it. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. The room was quiet. The air was warm. Hope was still sleeping peacefully beside me. I sat on the edge of the couch, holding my head in my hands. I felt lost, scared, but I knew I had no time to break. I had to do something. The kind old woman, her name was Mrs. Ellen, came into the room holding a cup of tea. She smiled and said gently, "Come, dear, drink this. It will help." I took the cup, my hands shaking. "Thank you," I whispered. I do not know how to thank you enough." She sat down next to me. "You do not have to say anything. I saw your eyes yesterday. I know that pain." Her words made me cry again. She continued, "You can stay here for a few days, but after that, you must start again. Life will not wait forever." I nodded slowly. She was right. That afternoon, while Hope slept, I opened an old notebook and wrote down every skill I had. I could cook. I had worked in a small bakery. During college, I had helped my mother clean houses. I looked at the list and thought, maybe I can do something with this. I walked to a nearby market and asked around for work. Most people said no. Some did not even look at me. But just as I was about to give up, I saw a small cafe with a "Help Wanted" sign. I stepped inside, nervous and tired. The owner, a middle-aged woman with short hair and kind eyes, looked at me and said, "Can you make coffee?" I said, "I can try." She smiled. "That is good enough. You can start tomorrow." I could not believe it. I had a job. It was small, but it was something. I ran back to Mrs. Ellen's house and hugged Hope tightly. "We did it." I whispered, "It is just the first step," but we took it. That night, I washed my only clean clothes and ironed them carefully. I packed a small bag for Hope. I wanted to make sure she had everything she needed while I worked. As I laid down beside her, I looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "I do not have much, but I have hope. I have you. And now I have a reason to fight." And with that, I closed my eyes and slept, not in fear, but with a small flame of strength burning inside me. My first day at the cafe was harder than I expected. The moment I walked in, I saw people rushing, orders flying, the sound of cups clinking, and the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. I stood there, holding my breath. The cafe owner, her name was Maria, handed me an apron and said, "Do not be afraid. Just follow me." I nodded. "Yes, I will try my best." I spent the next 6 hours cleaning tables, making tea, learning how to make coffee, and smiling through the pain in my feet. Every smile was forced, every breath was heavy, but I kept going. I kept thinking of Hope's face. At lunch break, I sat in the back, eating a small sandwich Maria had given me. Suddenly, I missed my mother. Her warm food, her soft hands, her quiet strength. I missed home, even though I had none anymore. Tears filled my eyes, but I wiped them quickly. You do not have time to cry, I told myself. You are a mother now. You must stay strong. When I returned to Mrs. Ellen's house that evening, Hope ran to me with her tiny arms open. Mama, that one word, that sweet voice made everything worth it. I knelt and hugged her tightly. I missed you so much, I whispered. Mrs. Ellen smiled, gently. She was good today. She ate well and even helped me water the plants. I thanked her and took Hope inside. That night, after putting her to bed, I sat in the corner of the room. I looked at my hands, rough, tired, and cracked from washing dishes. Then I looked at my heart, broken, but still beating. I cried silently, not because I was weak, but because I had been strong for too long. No one saw me cry. No one heard me, but I needed it. I needed to release the pain I had been carrying for so long. And as the tears rolled down my cheeks, I whispered, one day, things will be better. I do not know how, but I believe. Outside, the wind blew gently against the window. Inside, a mother cried, quietly in the dark. But in her heart, a tiny voice kept whispering, keep going. Do not stop. This pain will pass. And I listened to that voice because I had no choice but to believe in tomorrow. 2 years passed. Yes, 2 long, hard years, filled with early mornings, tired hands, sleepless nights, and quiet tears, but also filled with tiny joys, like Hope's first drawing, her first school award, and her laughter that made everything easier, even just for a moment. I was still working at the cafe, but things had changed. Maria, the cafe owner, became more than just a boss. She became my friend, my guide, my support. One rainy evening, after closing, she sat beside me and said, you are one of the strongest women I know. I smiled, tears shining in my eyes. Sometimes I feel like I am not strong at all. But you are, she said firmly. You show up. You keep going. That is strength. Those words stayed with me. I started saving little by little, every coin, every dollar. No shopping, no new clothes, no luxury. Only saving, because I had a dream of opening a small food stall, just a table, some homemade food, maybe tea, and snacks. It sounded simple, but to me, it meant everything. And finally, after many months, it happened. With the help of Maria and a few kind neighbors, I opened my tiny stall near the local park. The first day, I was scared. What if no one came? What if I failed? But then, the first customer arrived. A man smiled and said, 1 cup of tea, please. My hands shook as I poured the tea, but my heart was smiling. More people came. Some brought friends. Some returned the next day. Soon I had regular customers, and even some children who loved my homemade cookies. Hope stood beside me every weekend, helping with coins, wiping the table, smiling at everyone. She would whisper, "Mama, I am proud of you." And I would whisper back, "I am proud of you, my brave little girl." One evening, as we packed up, I looked at the sky, golden and soft. Hope held my hand and asked, "Mama, are we happy now?" I looked at her sweet face and nodded slowly, with tears in my eyes. "Yes, my love, we are not rich, but we have peace. We have love, and we have each other." That night, for the first time in a long time, I cried again. But this time, they were not tears of pain. They were tears of healing, of hope, and of a mother who never gave up.